Hi, I'm Jeannette de Beauvoir, and I work with the Daughters of St. Paul at Pauline Books and Media. And we are so excited here about some new books that we have coming out this summer. And I just happen to have the authors with me. Sister Mary Leah Hill, would you please hold up your book and tell us what it is?
The complaint, where am I going to hold it?
Wherever you like.
Complaints of the Saints. And I forgot again. Stumbling Upon Holiness with a Crabby Mystic, which would be me.
That would be you, the Crabby Mystic. Thanks. And
we need to start a movement to get rid of subtitles for the author's sake, so that we don't have to always remember them.
I didn't make up that subtitle, so I don't remember it.
It's usually the publisher who does that, unfortunately. Yeah.
It doesn't rhyme, so I can't remember it.
All right, and Karen and Tommy, what is your book?
Our book is called Catholic Funny Fill-Ins, Saints Spectacular.
So there is a theme here of the saints. So I'd love to hear from both of you why you were attracted to writing about the saints in particular. Anyone?
For us, it was helpful because this Funny Fill-Ins book is a word game where you take stories and kind of turn them into something a little bit funny. And so the saints
or very funny.
Yeah, depending on the fill-ins. The saints were great for us because they are real people who lived real lives. And so you can't help but find humor in some of their situations. So it was really great to delve into some of their lives and get to have fun with them, with especially a lot of them have like at least one event in their life that's kind of hilarious and different. And so that was why. It's just great topics to get into and to teach our kids about too.
And how about you, sister? Why did you choose to talk about the complaints of the saints?
For two reasons. First, because we're supposed to be saints. I'm in the becoming saint business. I mean, it's like the whole reason for my existence in the convent is to become holy. And also because in the process of doing that, we notice many things that are wrong with us. It becomes magnified living in this kind of atmosphere because everything around us points to the fact that we're here for a reason. And so, you kind of get a little over concerned about being or not being holy. Usually it's the latter one of the two of them. But we have to find ways of becoming who we intend to be. And the best example, of course, is always the people who made it already. So I'm always looking for examples, and I wanted somebody I could relate to. So I started looking for saints who had little dismal episodes in their life, or character defects or something that was obvious, like the great and glorious Saint Jerome, or people like that who are he's known for being a crabby person, although he was a very, very generous and holy man also. But we seem drawn more to the fact that he had the downside. But those are the kind of people, because they did make it in the end, that caused me to look at saints more closely.
So I don't want to accuse any of you of lacking creativity, because you're all three of you very creative people. But in a sense, it is kind of nice to be able to have that sort of encyclopedia or past of people who can inspire you, either to humor or to identifying with them in some way. Did that play into your choices about who to write about?
Oh yeah, it was definitely nice for us because we were like, okay, we've got 5 more stories we've got to write. Who can we pick from? And there's, thousands and thousands of choices. So it was very helpful for us, most definitely.
And you, Sister Leah, you are known as the crabby mystic.
Yes.
And so it seems to me that you probably were looking for saints with whom you could identify. Am I going out on a limb here?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's in the book. I mentioned that, if that's not somebody's high point of defects, if they're not crabby, but they've got some other thing, like they're angry all the time or petty or something, well, they can go look for saints that match that particular
Write your own book then, right?
But I figure complaints is pretty normal. It's a pretty normal human characteristic. I think we all have a bit of complaining. So it was easier to find that in the saints, depending on where you went looking. If you looked in the books that were written, like 50 years ago, you're not going to find anything about anything bad. There'll be 500 pages of total glory from the birth of the child till the death of the saint. But, in modern times, it's easier to find people more like ourselves. So I tried to find, some modern saints and some not yet saints and some of the older ones we know more about.
Well, I want to pick up on that older versions of saints because it seems to me that at least when I was growing up, there were these huge tomes that were the lives of the saints, and they went on forever and ever until you could die of boredom reading about them. And I noticed that for both of you, you've really taken these lives and sort of encapsulated them into something shorter, more edible, perhaps something that people can really go away with the story, as opposed to having to invest 5 hours of their time to hear about this saint. And I wonder if you can comment a little bit, both of you, on the format of your choices for talking about the saints.
Well, I mean, our book is sort of aimed towards children, so you're not going to get 5 hours where they're going to sit and listen. So yeah, the small edible, chunks of information is necessary when you're dealing with kids, right? So that's the reason that the shorter stories and the format sort of worked.
As parents with lots of kids too, it's like when we try to read, you can only get 1 or 2 paragraphs in before somebody comes in screaming, asking for snacks or something.
It's
So
not just for the kids.
We appreciate short things because you can go back and have to read the same paragraph over and over again.
Right.
Yeah, and so you would probably love Sister Leah's book because it does really give you a page and a half, 2 pages, maybe.
Yeah,
Sister,
usually
per
2
saint?
pages.
Thank you,
Okay.
sister. We
Yeah,
appreciate that a lot.
Well, for me, it's like sound bites,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the way everything is now. Everything is in very short pieces. Even if you read the news in the newspapers, there's not much there. They say it, they announce what they're going to say, then they say it, and they repeat it. And, there's not much information there. So it's kind of like the electronic attention deficit model that I'm following.
And yet, all of you are able to address really deep issues in this short format. So I think that's really something to tell people, that it doesn't have to be a 5-hour read. It doesn't have to be, the lives of the saints, to be something that can be moving to people and can give them some hope that, I too could aspire to this. So I know that Sister Leah, well, I actually shouldn't say that. I should not say I know anything about Sister Leah. I'm going to let Sister Leah speak for herself. How did you practice, Sister? How did you figure out which saints to use? And did you share any of them with your sisters at the Daughters of St. Paul before you launched them into the book?
Oh, yeah. I asked, if anyone had any suggestions of people. Because when I first started looking, I couldn't find much of anything. And finally, I think when I got into more into the zone, I started noticing things. Some things you have to turn toward the complaint aspect. You kind of read it into what was going on. Or I can imagine that they would have complained, or I can imagine they should have complained, but maybe because they were a little further along in their journey toward God. But I just kept constantly looking and looking and looking. I probably flipped through every book we have on the saints in the house.
That's a lot of books.
That's a lot of books. I was just going to say. And Karen and Tommy, how do you develop yours? How did you choose your saints, and how did you see if those particular saints would appeal to kids?
Yeah, so I think like one of the things that we were talking about earlier is that, like, sometimes you read the lives of the saints, and although sometimes it's like glorious and miraculous things happen to them. You don't read the story and go, oh, that's like me. I got that too. Or, it's saints where Jesus appeared to them and spoke with them, or where Mary appeared to them. I mean, those are like amazing things, but that doesn't necessarily happen to most of us. So when we're looking at the saints, we wanted to put some in there that we knew some things about them that were seemingly ordinary, or like we have Blessed Pier Giorgio Frassati in there, and we know that he, loved sports. He loved practical jokes. He was a lover of life, and so we wanted to put saints in there that we knew that kids and adults would have something to relate to in there.
And we test them on our kids. So we write them and think they're fantastic. Yeah. And then we pull them out in front of our kids and they're like, go back to the drawing board. So, you can really tell when you have the kids help out, like which ones kind of click. You can really tell which sentences aren't quite right. And you can tell that you haven't taught them what adverbs mean. So that all of those things help. They were our first editors for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like the family is a tough room to play, huh? Well, what I generally do when I do these interviews is I ask the author to read a passage from their book, but I'm not going to do that this time because your book is all about the play. So we are going to use Sister Leah as a guinea pig. I hope you don't mind Sister being referred to as a marsupial. Is it a marsupial? I think it's a marsupial, but I'm not positive. I'll have to look that one up. And show us what the fill-ins sound like when you're actually playing the game.
Sounds great. So we picked out a story. We'll go through it, and I'm just going to ask you for fill-ins, and we'll read the story at the end, Sister.
Okay.
So give me an adjective.
I have to stop and think of what it is.
Ooh, a describing word. I'm really good at helping people know what it is now after practicing it with the kids.
How about is delicious in it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
How about a number?
45.
45?
Yeah.
Beautiful number.
The age I wish I was still.
What about a past tense verb?
Discovered.
And another adjective. You got another one in there?
Corny.
Corny. And how about a verb past tense again?
Lamented.
Now I need 2 plural foods.
Oh.
What's on the menu tonight at the convent? Something good?
Yeah. Let's see. We had couscous the other day.
I think couscous is just plural on its own, right? One more.
Couscouses. and green beans.
Oh, yeah. How about an animal?
A guinea pig.
Oh, yeah. That was good. That's a good tie-in. And you got another adjective? You're going to have to come up with a few more adjectives here for this story.
Yeah. I have to remember what they are. Let's see. I'm out of words. I used them all in my book. More in my head. Favorite?
What was it?
Favored?
Favored. How about a liquid?
Moxie.
Ooh,
whoa.
There's a throwback.
Mm-hmm.
We'll let you off easy with, how about you give me 3 nouns? Just a nice, easy person, place, or thing.
A squirrel, a bank building, and an overstuffed chair. Well, probably can't have an adjective.
It's just fine. That's great. These are good for also therapeutic reasons. For free association, we can kind of really see what you're going through and help you deal with it.
That thought had occurred to me, Tommy, for sure.
How about a name of the person? It says name of person in the room, but maybe the name of a person on the live stream.
Oh, Jeannette.
All right. You're in the story, Jeannette.
I'm in the story. I'm not sure that's a
Yay.
good thing or not, but we'll
All right,
find
5
out.
more, sister. You can hang in there. How about 2 more numbers?
5,065
Okay.
and 3.
A verb past tense. You're on the home stretch.
Multiplied.
One final adjective. This will be the last one you might know. You've already given so many.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, those two.
An adjective. Dark.
And then an exclamation like, wow. Or whoa. Yeah.
How about
You did that stereo
whoop-de-doo?
very nicely.
Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
And I kind of lied. There's 2 more for another special Did You Know that's mostly about the saint. So I need a room in the house and then a place.
Oh, I would give you one, but it wouldn't make any sense to anyone. The potato room.
The potato room.
You have a potato room at the
We do.
convent?
You do peel a lot of potatoes there.
There's
And
no
then a
potato.
place. Any
And another-
place.
Another place.
Yeah. Could be a city, a place, a room,
Whoa.
outside, anything.
Oh, how about Chelsea?
Chelsea. All right. Okay. So this funny fill-in that was just completed is called A Picnic with Friends. Oh,
Ooh,
I'm going to try and show the picture here.
nice.
There we go.
Okay.
So it says, it was a delicious spring day in Lima, Peru. Martin de Porres and 45 of his friends discovered were out for a corny picnic one day before Mass. Martin shared the faith with them as they lamented a lovely meal of couscous, green beans, and guinea pig on a log. So after eating, they played favored tag and had a moxie balloon fight. That would be sticky. That's Then they laid on a picnic squirrel and looked up at the clouds. Jeannette saw a bank building shaped cloud, and Martine saw one that looked like an overstuffed chair. That works pretty good.
Yeah.
Just then, they heard the dark church bells ringing. It was 5,065 o'clock, time for Mass, and they were 3 miles away. No one thought they'd make it except for Martine, who told everyone to hold each other's hands and pray. And everyone was lifted off the ground and multiplied through the air, miraculously landing at the church just in time for Mass. All they could say was, whoop-de-doo. So then at the end, that's the funny part. At the end, we have like a little mini biography that we helped you fill in. So Saint Martin de Porres was known as the Saint of the Broom because of his humble life of service. As a lay Dominican brother, Saint Martin made his mission to do everything, even sweep the floor with great care and love for God and others. Although he didn't really have water balloon fights, God did give him extraordinary gifts of healing, levitation, the ability to talk to animals, and bilocation, or the capacity to be in 2 places at once. So he could be in the potato room and Chelsea at the same time.
There they are.
Yay.
Well done, sister. Very
Yay.
well done.
Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah, Sister Leah, you get extra pay for that one. Oh, really, it's such fun. So I think that does give people a really good sense of how it works. And I like you using a name in it because you're waiting to hear your name. I don't know if it happens
definitely.
with kids a lot, but I would think it would. So I asked Sister Leah before when we've had a conversation about her book, which of her saints she liked in particular. Were there any that you either found when you were doing research surprising in some way, or that you particularly liked, or that you learned about for the first time? Any of that happened when you were putting this together?
Yeah, I think one of the saints that previously I had sort of revered as this completely perfect package of holiness, Saint Giannamola. And I think in some ways she is portrayed as this, she, like, every decision she ever made was just, she made it with God in mind, and that there was no sort of, but I think that when doing some research about her, she, especially from her family, was portrayed as a normal person who just loved life. And so she was one of my favorites from the book and doing research.
Yeah. Also, I really like St. Philip Neri. And one of the stories in the book is about him being invited by some rich people to a big party. And he knew that they were inviting him because he was known as a holy man to kind of gain influence. So he shaved half of his beard off before he showed up at the party. So he showed up with half of a beard, and everybody thought that he was absolutely insane. And he was doing it basically just for a lark, for a joke on these people to teach them not to be prideful. And that's just great. Like I would never have the guts to do that. He must have been absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, we have a graphic novel about him, and I think that suits it particularly well because he really was a very colorful character for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So you try these out on your kids. Have they felt like, wow, my stories are going out there into the world, or have they felt like, why are you sharing all my stories with the world? I mean, I can see it going either way.
I remember when some of the daughters did some of the fill-ins together on YouTube and filmed YouTube videos of them doing them. And they thought it was the coolest thing. They're like, we helped write that story and now it's like on the internet, so it was very, I think they liked that a lot. And we give them out to like friends that have lots of kids to kind of have fun with too. And so I think I think they like that it's going out to the world, right? I mean, if you ask them, they'd say they wrote like half the book. So I think that they're very proud of it.
And this is your second book in the series, I believe?
That's right. Yeah. The first one is just mostly about like family life and kind of like Catholic family life. Then this one, and the next one that's going to come out is about holy days and feast days.
That could be very interesting. So all your kids know what adjectives are?
They do now. Yeah. Hopefully our 5-year-old's kindergarten teacher will be dazzled with his knowledge of the parts of speech when he shows up.
They always have to be reminded.
Yeah, well, yeah, sure.
But it's a great, I mean, I love that you're introducing them to the saints, and I love that you're giving them a sort of grounding in that, but also, the teacher / writer in me is just so pleased that you're teaching them the parts of a sentence. I grew up diagramming sentences, and no one does that anymore.
That's right. Yeah, circle the adjectives. Oh my gosh. The sweat that would drip down my.
So, Sister Leah, I would love to hear what that experience was like for you just now. From your point of view, you probably didn't know exactly what to expect, and from my point of view, it was absolutely hilarious. But I would love to hear what that was like for you to do that, and I'm sure that Tighe would be interested in hearing.
Oh, I'd love to hear it. Yeah,
how people respond to it.
Well, it's always fun. It activates brain cells, or points to the ones that aren't terribly active anymore when you get to my age, like adjectives, But it's a stimulating kind of thing from just a regular sense of things. But it's also a chance to be creative, because you're kind of trying to foresee what's going to come next, and what kind of word you can throw in there that'll make it crazier than it would have been. And it also allows for a certain amount of relaxation, in silliness, which is good for us who spend our life being more serious than we need to be. And sometimes we're afraid to get silly, for no reason at all. And also, it's a good way, like you were saying, to stimulate people to want to go find out more about the saint. You've read one incident and you want to see what else there is. So, I mean, it reminded me of the two saints that you mentioned there, Philip and Jana, and how much I enjoy their stories and always looking for more information. I actually even enjoyed seeing some movies of Jana, home movies that were delightful.
Oh.
I will also say that I am never going to think of Martine again without thinking of teleporting from my picnic to Mass.
Yeah, he's a fabulous thing.
That's not going to
Or
work.
guinea pigs on a log.
Yeah. Delicious.
Delicious. So I'd like to pick up a little bit, we have only a few minutes left, but Sister Leah, you were talking about that sort of inherent silliness, and all of you, I think, are deeply grounded in your faith. And yet you all express it with so much lightness and joy and not taking yourselves very seriously. And I wonder how important you feel that is in living the faith and in communicating the faith.
I mean, I think it's vitally important, especially in today's world, and trying to communicate the faith like on social media or online. The social media experience that I run into the most is people trying to make jokes or have memes or attach funny videos to little comments, and being able to put the Catholic spin on that and kind of show the world that, hey, look at us, we're actually pretty funny too, And I think that helps people feel that the church and the faith is more welcoming of a place. And at least kind of cracks that door open a little bit for them to think that it's not just some old stuffy place where, people are fingering rosaries during daily mass or whatever, but we can also have a little fun, and maybe they'll give us a second look,
Yeah. And what about you, Sister Leah?
Well, I really do think that being lighthearted makes us more approachable to people, especially maybe more so in my case than Karen and Tommy, because you're regular people. You look like people. We look like we're trying to do something rather unusual. And sometimes people think that we're going to be too pious for them to be able to stand. I have some relatives who are, they're not terribly religious, but they always tell me they enjoy talking to me because, I'm relatable. It's not like, what they picture it's going to be. I haven't gotten them closer to going to church, but I'm expecting something will happen. But we do have to make it real. And also the fun part of it is like the prelude to the kingdom, which is going to be a celebration. At least that's, what everyone says about heaven, that it's a celebration of being with God. So, you don't celebrate morosely.
That sounds like one of your fill-ins, doesn't it? Celebrate morosely.
So, that's an important thing. We're supposed to be living in preparation for heaven, or it's, what we can do of heaven now we're doing. So happiness is part of it.
I've always believed that God has a sense of humor. If you look at a llama or some of the creatures that God's created, that God has a sense of humor. But it is so beautiful the way in your very different ways you're able to share that humor with people. So I just like to ask you, all of you, in sort of conclusion, to once again show us the book, because we do want to do some of that blatant self-promotion. That's what we're here about. Excellent. There they are. And Karen and Tommy, why should people play your games? How can we entice people to say, I need to get that book and play those games with my kids or my grandkids?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, especially during the quarantine, if you're by yourself, you got to entertain yourself somehow, so I think that's great. But I think for people with kids or grandkids, even some of the stories are not directly only about the saints. Some of them are just about regular families in regular everyday situations. And then at the end, there's a tie-in with the saint of like how the saint is connected to the story. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's just these little ways to show children that not only the saints have parts of their lives that are just like your life, but also that you are meant to be, to get to heaven. You're meant to become a saint. And so I think it gives a little bit of hope for adults and kids, I guess, too, but that there's hope for you. You don't have to be this, like as Sister keeps saying, like this plastered statue of holiness. You can be yourself and be a holy person and get to heaven.
And I think it's also, like you were saying, during the COVID-19 situation that we're in, we're all looking for ways to kind of keep the faith alive, since we're not able to go physically to church right now here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a really like low pressure way to keep the faith alive. It's not like having to figure out how to get the kids to sit on the couch and stream mass when you're in the middle of your house and they have access to everything they could ever want.
I'm sure that's never been a problem for you, Heather, right?
But it's a lighthearted, fun thing. So it's also like, you know, we're not going to sit down and pray the hours together with the children.
Right.
We're going to do something that incorporates the faith that's at their level that they can get into. So it's a great way to kind of keep the faith alive when we're kept away from our normal place of worship, you know.
Excellent. And Sister Leah, why should people buy your book?
Because I said so.
Oh, there you go. I can't do
That should be the
that.
tagline on the back. That's good.
The Crabby Mystic says, buy this book.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it gives them a lot of examples of normal people, you know, working their way toward holiness. And I want to point out that the last section of the book is on the characteristics of charity, because I figure we need something to help us to counteract whatever our particular struggle is. And the characteristics of charity are the St. Paul's hymn to charity: love is patient, love is kind, love is forgiving, and all. And each one of those is explained as an antidote to, in this case, to complaining. So,
All right. Oh, and we've got another
Oh.
another contributor to the book.
oh, hi.
Hey.
Right.
This is our Crabby Mystic.
Oh, nice.
Mystic. Excellent.
He just woke up from his nap, so.
He has an excuse.
The rest of us don't. All right. Well, I want to thank you all for being my guests here, Sister Mary Leah Hill, Karen and Tommy Tighe. I want to urge people to get the books, play with the book, read the book, and enjoy them. My name's Jeannette de Beauvoir, and we hope to see you here again sometime. God bless.